Aloha.
Okay, we're in practice right now. So I have the video queued up to go. And then Rob should be back.
Sounds good. And it looks like we are live on YouTube.
Yeah.
So aloha to all our friends joining us on YouTube. Jen, how was the activity?
It was super fun. I have a mess of flower parts here because I was dissecting flowers, which is one of my favorite things to do. But
Awesome.
yeah, so that was good fun. Not as many kiddos as our usual Wednesdays even, but still good.
Awesome. So if anybody needs Valentine's Day gift ideas, flowers are never a bad idea, but even better, now you get to play around with them.
A dissected flower is
Dissected
appealing to
flowers.
a small subset of people on Valentine's Day.
There you go. The gift that keeps on giving. Well, mahalo to everyone who's with us today at the Wiliwili Festival. Really happy to have you here. We have our next activity with our good friend Malia Heimuli, who is our first intern at the Waikoloa Dry Forest Preserve. So Jen, do we have that video ready?
Yes, we do.
Awesome. All right, here we go.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Malia Heimuli. I am from Ko'olaupoko, Oahu, and I've been friends with the Waikoloa Dry Forest for more than 10 years now. And I'm so excited that you get to join us for this very unique 10th annual Wiliwili Festival. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a pua wiliwili. So the reason why I came up with the pua wiliwili is back in the day when I worked at Waikoloa Dry Forest Initiative, there was a prolonged drought during the summer, and a tour group was coming out to see the wiliwili flowering, but they weren't because it was so dry that there was just not even leaves on any of the wiliwili. So what I did was I created all these pua wiliwili out of paper, and we put them in clusters and we attached them to the wiliwili trees. And from afar, when we were taking this tour group out, you looked at it and it looked like the wiliwili were flowering, but actually when we got up closer, they were so laughing because everybody saw that it was made out of paper. So it was a really great way to have fun with it, even though there was this really dramatic change that was happening at that time to the wiliwili. But we really loved making the wiliwili pua. And so this activity today is just a more simpler, cakey style way of making a wiliwili pua. And I hope you get creative with it. For step 1, you want to print out the Wiliwili worksheet, and then you want to color the Wiliwili parts. And you can use the colors of the common orange Wiliwili flowers, but be creative with it. And if you want a purple Wiliwili, go ahead and color it purple. Also, I colored the back side of the parts just to make it a full colored Wiliwili. And this is optional, but you can be creative with that too. And after you're done coloring, you want to cut out the wiliwili parts. For step 2, once you have all your parts cut out, what you want to do is cut your stamens out right here. And make sure that you don't cut all the way down, just until the line stops. And don't cut this part right here in the middle. This is where the seed is made. And then after that, what you want to do is you want to fold this part all the way down and open it up. And then you want to take your petal part and you want to fold this part down, open that back up, and then you want to fold this part right here on the fold line and fold that over just like that and open that back up. For this step, you want to take your glue and you're going to put glue on the white parts of your petal piece and the white parts of your stamen piece. Then you're going to take your petal piece and you're going to take that white part and fold it down, and then you're going to fold it together like this and pinch. And then you're going to take your stamen piece and you're going to put it right over that white attachment piece, and you're going to pinch the stamen piece right over it. And you're going to pinch until it's dry, just like that. And then you have your Wiliwili flower. Now that you're pau with your Wiliwili pua, I have some suggestions for other projects that you can make. So you could actually use this Wiliwili worksheet as a template for cutting it out into different papers. You can even use fabric, and you could also make, aside from just one Wiliwili pua, you can make a whole cluster like how you see on Wiliwili trees. You can also make a mobile, and I even suggest maybe even making a lei out of it. So either way, be creative and have fun with it. Mahalo for joining me in making the pua Wiliwili. Just get creative, have fun, and mahalo for supporting the Waikoloa Dry Forest and the Waikoloa Dry Forest Initiative. Eola Wiliwili.
Well, that was really great. Mahalo nui to Malia for joining us. And Jen, we can download that worksheet at waikoloadryforest.org, correct?
Yes. And we will
Awesome.
post that video there as well.
Solid. All right. So I hope everyone had a great lunch break and time to explore our silent auction, as well as our exhibitor hall. We have now, Jackie and Jen took us through dissecting a flower to kind of understand the anatomy of flowers. With Malia, we learned how to make a paper flower. And now we're going to head back to the preserve with Rob, who's going to show us how to make a real Wiliwili flower with his talk on propagation. How's it going, Rob? How's it going out there?
It's going well. We're having a wonderful day at the preserve. There's been so many visitors, and we just couldn't be more excited. But of course, today is all about Wiliwili. So today we're going to show you how to propagate some Wiliwili seeds.
That's awesome, man. Take it away.
All right. So thank you all for coming. And throughout the dry forest, we have so many wonderful different types of plants, and if you watch Jackie and Jen, you know that every plant has its own superpower, and some of the dry forest species that we have, including our friend Wiliwili here, is to have a super powered seed. So the red part, if you take a look at a Wiliwili seed, and all of that red outer coating that you're seeing is what's known as the seed coat. So that's designed very specifically to protect the seed until it's ready to grow. So what does a seed need in order to grow? Well, we know that seeds turn into little baby plants, and what we want to find out is what it's going to take a seed and get it to a plant. So we know that they need possibly some soil, and they're going to need a little bit of water, and eventually they're going to need a little bit of sunlight. So one of the things that we can do is we have a couple of tricks up our sleeve to help make our Wiliwili grow into little baby trees. But that seed coat that's protecting it is designed to make sure that they only sprout up when the conditions are perfect. So if you're in the dry forest and you're a seed and you fall down to the forest floor, you don't want to sprout up when we have a little sprinkle. If you just get wet a little bit and then you start to sprout up, then you might grow up and then there's no more water for your roots. So then you're gonna get all wilty and you're like, oh no, I don't like this. So Wiliwili have this special adaptation with this seed coat to ensure that it takes a lot of water, a lot of rainfall in order for our seeds to germinate and to sprout and to become baby trees. So today what we're going to look at is a process called scarification, and it is one technique that we can use when we're trying to grow Wiliwili seeds and be able to bring them to life as a little baby tree a little bit faster than what we might. We could definitely take all of these seeds, we could put them down in the soil, and we could water them every day, but it might take several months for them to start sprouting up. So sometimes in the nursery we can do this process of scarification to let the water get inside the seed coat, and that water is going to start all these cascading events of the seed getting ready to germinate and become its baby tree. So I'm going to try to angle my camera down a little bit. We'll see what we can make happen here. And let me see here. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this seed. We can see that there's a tiny little pico on it. That is the equivalent of the seed's belly button. So this is kind of the place where it was attached to the pod and ultimately to the mama plant. So we don't want to cut there because the embryo is right on the other side of that. So we want to find the backside. And if you have a Wiliwili seed, and this is true for any of the bean families or anything that is a hard, long-lived seed, so you can kind of check around, and of course there's tons of information online as to what seeds this is a good process for, this scarification. And there are other types of seeds that might be small or live in a fleshy fruit, or even from the wet forest, that don't necessarily need to be able to protect themselves from the dry conditions, so they have access to moisture pretty much immediately. So sometimes those are short-lived. This process is for our long-lived hard seed coat seeds, such as those in the Fabaceae family or the bean family, like Wiliwili and Uhi, and some of our other Fabaceae families like Ojai and Colomona, and even Koa and Kauai. So here I've got my seed. I'm going to take my special tools that we all have at home. This is just a standard nail clipper. And so we've got the nail clipper here. We don't want to cut into the little pico there. So I'm going to turn it around on the back side and give it just the tiniest little nick in the seed coat. So I'm going to take the edge of my nail clipper here and just go shallowly in there, and I've made a tiny little nick in the seed coat, and that little white spot that you're seeing there is the embryo inside that's getting ready to grow. So I've got that, and then the trigger for the seeds to sprout is going to be to put it in some water. So I have a jar here. Of some water, and I'm gonna put it inside the water. Just tap water is fine. Any water that you have home. It doesn't have to be any certain type of temperature, for at least for Wiliwili. So just get some water from the sink, wherever you might find it, and throw the seed on in there and let it soak overnight. And so that seed is going to start to swell with water. And here's one that I started with last night, and it's about double the size of the seed that I just placed in. And so it is completely swollen with water, and it's ready to start growing. So I'm going to try to find out what is the next thing my plant needs to grow. So I've got my water, and so we're going to need to mix up a little bit of soil. And so for these plants that we have here in the dry forest, we need a lot of drainage because they live in the they live in the rocks, and the water just kind of filters through. And because they're dry forest systems, their roots don't like to be wet for too long. So one thing that I have here, this is called perlite, and it's basically like a very porous rock that helps with the drainage. You could also use cinder if that's what you have available, but this perlite is going to be the main ingredient for our soil recipe. So I'm going to put some in here, and our mixture is to put 3 parts of our perlite to 1 part of our potting mix, and we use this here. This is Pro Mix. So we're going to combine these 2 things to make our soil media, is what we call it. All of the plants need to have a certain amount of soil to grow. So we have our organic material here, and then we have our inorganic rock that's going to help with drainage over here with the perlite. So we want to use 3 parts perlite to 1 part Pro Mix. So you can use whatever measuring instrument you have, and you can use a cup if this is a little where we're going to put our plants in, a little 3-inch potting pit. So you put 3 of these into your bin, and then 1 of the potting mix. So ta-da, I already have some made right here, and we're gonna be able to fill up some of our pots with this here. And so here we go. Let me count how many seeds I have. I have 5. So I'm just gonna fill up some pots, make this nice new home for our seed to live in. And I like to fill it up all the way to the top. That way it has as much room to grow as possible. And you know, when you're starting seeds, I think a 3-inch pot is appropriate. You can use somewhat smaller. I suppose you could go big if you wanted to, or even if you're just going to plant it in the ground at home, although some other factors come into play with that. But here in the forest, in the nursery, we use these pots to get them started. And I'm going to fill up my remaining 2 pots here. And these seeds that we plant today will be growing for the next maybe 12 weeks or so, maybe 8 to 12 weeks. And they're going to be planted right in the forest here. So these will be the Wiliwili Festival trees. So I've got them down here. They've been soaking overnight. They're swollen with all the water. And I'm just fishing them out of this little jar here. And so we've got our pots ready with our soil media. And we're just going to try to make a new home for these plants to live in. So I'm going to actually use my thumb, and I'm going to go about, I would say about 1 inch into the soil. I'm just going right up to the first line on my thumb here to make a new home for these plants. And you can even wet the soil down prior to doing this. That way it has a lot of moisture already there. I'm going to do it afterwards because I don't want to get our table all wet. So I've made a little hole about with my thumb for the new plant, for the seeds to live in. So I'm going to put those down in there. And one more. Okay, and then I'm just going to cover them up with a little bit more soil. And then I'm going to water them in, which I'm going to do off camera. I'm just going to put them down and just put a little bit of water. All right. So that's all we needed to do. And so we've got our plants watered, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. But of course, you can always reach out to us, and you can even come tomorrow to come get a free Wiliwili plant that we've been growing for several weeks now, and at our plant giveaway here in the forest. So always happy to share and to teach anyone anything that I know. Of course, I'm still learning myself, but that is how you propagate a Wiliwili seed.
Brother Rob, that was an awesome presentation. So should we just wait on Zoom to see the trees sprout? Everybody got 12.
Yep, just hang tight with me. I'll be narrating this whole time, and if you just take a look here for the next 4 weeks, we'll start to see the first photosynthetic structures pop up, which will be the cotyledons for all you plant enthusiasts out there.
Nobody blink. Nobody blink. So folks, throw your questions in the chat, throw them in the Q&A. We have one here from James. How long does it take for the seed to germinate?
Yep, so with this process of scarification, we'll see the first cotyledon pop up. You know, we're joking about it, but it's actually a pretty quick process. Within 2 weeks, we'll start to see that cotyledon start to sprout up. And then it'll basically be like the bean split in half, and it'll open up. And then the first true leaves, the trifoliolate leaves, will start to come out, and they'll be ready. Here we go. And here's one that's been growing. This one is, I would say, about 4 weeks old. And you can start to see these are the cotyledons here, right here. And then it's got its first true leaves here. And then this is when it gets its typical leaf pattern with the trifoliolate leaves there. And then here in the forest, we'll let them grow anywhere from a minimum of 8 weeks to about 12 to 16 weeks would be ideal for this potted size for us to plant out into the forest.
Awesome. I wonder how many times we can say trifoliolate quickly
Trifoliolate.
without getting all tongue-tied there. Awesome. So on the other end of that spectrum, Monica from down at Kiholo is asking, how old do Wiliwili get?
All right, this is a question that I'm not 100% sure on. It's a very long time. Our best estimate for the older trees here in the preserve is that they're at least 200 to 300 years old. So the way that we kind of estimate that is that they would have had to have been a substantial size by the time the grazing animals arrived. So that was about 200 years ago. So it's hundreds and hundreds of years. And actually, I saw a picture of a Wiliwili on a Koho'olave from 1913. And it was already a huge tree, and it's well known to be the one major Wiliwili over there.
Awesome. So in other words, Wili old.
You know it.
All right. We have a question from Michelle, who is wondering how old were. Oh, where'd it go? Her question disappeared. Oh, here we go. How old were some seeds that you started and were successful that were just stored open? So no special treatment, just plant them and forget them.
Yep. So these seeds with that special seed coat that I mentioned, they're designed to live down in the forest floor for many years. They don't know when the rain is going to come here in the dry forest, and we could have periods of drought, or we could have a lot of rain. So we've known trees to have seeds viable for at least a decade, multiple decades. And they would still sprout up. You'll lose a little bit of viability over the years, but what's cool about these dry forest species is under the right conditions, when we send them off to the seed bank, under the right temperature conditions, really cold, and the right humidity, they can last pretty much indefinitely. And I wouldn't be surprised if 100 years down the road they're still exactly the way they were when they were collected.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. It's so amazing how resilient our native plants are.
They really are. And just to kind of give a comparison, uhi uhi, our other tree that we care for in the preserve, also in the bean family, so it has that hard outer seed coat. It's been known that a tree that has been dead for 50 years and there's still young baby plants sprouting up at the base of it. So
Wow,
they're meant to last.
that's awesome. I will just plug here that that doesn't mean that we don't need to take care of them. We still definitely do.
Exactly. Yep. So that's one of the promising and most exciting things for me as a conservationist is that although the plants they're on the decline, some scary things are happening, but with just a little bit of effort from us as the people that care for them, they can really rebound and bounce back really quickly.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, we have another question from our friends at Kiholo. Monica asks, as the Wiliwili trees are growing, when do they start to get their thorns?
So this one actually has this one is only about 8 weeks and it already has the beginnings of a thorn. And we've noticed, at least for the ones here on Big Island, they seem to vary quite a bit, but the first few years they'll have those thorns coming off of the stem, and as they age, they start to kind of lose that trait. Whereas I think on other islands they actually tend to keep those thorns quite a bit longer. And then if you take Erythrina, not our Wiliwili, but Erythrina from other parts of the world, they'll keep their thorns throughout their entire life.
Wow. So
And then
folks,
what?
oh, sorry, go ahead, bro.
Once they do begin to age and mature, we've noticed that after about 5 years here in the forest, that's when they make their first flower and ultimately their first seed pod.
Awesome. So, knowing now that these thorns come in early, if you would like to help Brother Rob get some gloves, right? We got to protect these limahana. We got to protect these hands that are working so hard to protect our forest. If you would like Brother Rob to have some gloves, check out the silent auction here at the Wiliwili Festival or contribute at waikoloadryforest.org.
I'm
Rob,
glad too, because I'm glad I'm on Zoom. You can't see my fingers too closely, but they're all beat up from all the work I've been doing.
there you go. Well, as Kool-Aid shared with us earlier, there's tired and then there's fulfilling tired. And you, my brother, look like you are very fulfilled in your fatigue.
Oh, all right, definitely.
Awesome. Well, mahalo to you, Rob. We're gonna let you go do your thing. I know you look so stoked to be out there in the forest, and a lot of us here at the festival can't wait to be out in the forest again very soon.
Awesome. Can't wait to see you in the forest.
Right on, bro. Take care, man. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, well, we've had a super full day here at the Wiliwili Festival. We're about to wrap it up. We have our friends, Colin and Sam from Waikoloa Plaza, and they want to say aloha and share a few things about their awesome project. And I want to first start by saying mahalo to you and to Waikoloa Plaza for supporting the Waikoloa Dry Forest Initiative and also for supporting this year's Wiliwili Festival. So, aloha, Colin and Sam.
Hi guys, of course.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Jen. Thanks, Ilihia.
How are you guys?
I'm good. How are
Very
you?
good.
Good.
I like the background.
Thank you. I'm in the tree. Thank you guys for talking with us for a little bit. I'm excited to see you. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a chance to talk about, what this partnership is like for you and, how you guys found us and became such a big part of the festival and, honor that relationship. And thank you both.
Absolutely. Thank you guys as well. So I hooked up with Meridian Pacific probably about 4, maybe 5 years ago now. And during that time, really learned what Gary, the owner, is about and what he likes to do. And one of his models is he likes to go to communities that are in need. So he identified Waikoloa as a community that was in need of a lot of services. And you all know that we need everything out here. We're in the middle of nowhere. So he identified the community and he nailed it. And so part of him entering into the community is he likes the outreach. And, I'd met Jen through a couple events and whatnot. And I said, Gary, she's got a real cool foundation going. She's got a real good cause. Our plaza is going to be right in the middle of her forest reserve. I think this is something that we should try and help support and, give a little bit of community outreach and not just take from the community, but try to give back to something that's positive and good for everyone.
Yeah, we were definitely excited to meet you guys when you came into town because, development is often the enemy of conservation. And even if we need to have those developments in our community, I think there's a way for us to do that in a way that maybe suits the landscape a little bit better and maybe isn't so counterproductive to the types of things that we want to do. And we were excited that, native planting was something that you were already on the path towards at the plaza. And, we were really looking forward to seeing some of those native plants in that landscape there. So thank you for reaching out in that way as well. And on that note, I've been getting a lot of questions and emails and urgent texts about the Wiliwili tree that is now a feature at the plaza. And I was just wondering if you could share the story of that particular tree with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you know, when a developer comes in with a large project, there's certain requirements to the surrounding community. So, one of ours is we worked with the county traffic division and really planned our entrances as not to impact the community too much. And unfortunately, that caused us to have to open the median through Waikoloa Road. Now, during our surveys, we started identifying that, there was a lot of foliage, a lot of trees and different plants that were going to be impacted by our development. When we started to realize that and realize what our impact was going to be, I got with Jen. We started to kind of have some discussions on, what should we do? We got this large Wiliwili tree. At the time, it was over 20 feet tall. And we've since pruned it back. But at the time, it was very large. And I said, Jen, what do we do? Does anybody want this? Do we need it? What's the how do we even approach this? And so through talking with the village association, through talking with Jen, through talking with John Stork, our landscaper, we started to formulate some plans on how to actually replant this tree. We deemed that this tree was worth saving, and kind of hearing the last guy, I mean, who knows? This tree may have been, 100 years old with how big it is. So we started creating some plans on how we were going to really save this. John Stork, our landscaper, really started advising heavily on it. He started coming up with his plans, running it through everyone. And so when the work came up, we got out our backhoes. We got a crane from Isimoto. We got some flatbeds and some carpet protection. So we tried not to hurt this thing. And we found an area on our project where, it could have its own space and grow to be something a little bit larger than it is now. And we got it done, and the thing is blooming. It's flowered since we replanted it. All the leaves are back from us pruning it. So I think we did a pretty darn good job. And I think we saved something that the community can now come down, and when they visit the plaza, they can be proud of it. That, we didn't just come through and bulldoze everything.
Oh, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
where, for the folks maybe a little bit more familiar with your project, where in the center is the tree and what's kind of going to be around it?
Yeah, so the tree is kind of in the center of our property on the Mackay side. So part of working with the Department of Transportation and all of that, the way to alleviate the traffic on Waikoloa Road and the congestion was by us installing or constructing a connector road that pretty much connects Puumalia and Waikoloa Road. And it's a private road, but we were going to open it for the public. So this tree is dead center of that road, on the Mackay side of the project. So every time you come into the center, you're going to see this tree.
It's awesome. And it's, Jen talked this morning about how, Wiliwili trees, perhaps more so than others, you kind of form these relationships with them, right? They speak to you in certain ways. And so I think that's great that folks visiting Waikoloa Plaza will have an opportunity to say aloha to that tree for many years to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's happy where it's at. It's flowered, it's blooming. So we got some water to it, something that the trees out here don't normally get. So I think, it's great for everybody. And it feels good that we didn't just come through with a dozer and just rip everything out,
Definitely.
Here, I got some pictures. I can kind of show everybody where the tree is on our project. So there's our tree. Oops. You guys can kind of see Waikoloa Road out here, Highland Center, you can kind of see the corner of it. Here's our connector road coming through, and there's our Wiliwili tree right there. So I think this picture was taken this past weekend. So as you can see, it's flourishing and we're pretty proud of it. It's the first sign of life we got on the project.
Great.
That's beautiful, brother.
Yeah, I'm so glad that it's doing well and it's going to be there for all of our community to continue to enjoy, and hopefully one of many that will be in the landscape there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll touch on that again. So as we progressed with the project, one of the things we all discussed as a team was that in Waikoloa, it's very somewhat selfish to go with the normal landscape that the resorts do. It's very water heavy. It's got a lot of fertilizers, and it's just not natural, not native. So one of our big pushes was to get our design to kind of align with the area rather than import plants not from the area. So we've worked with Jen, we've worked with our landscape architect, Leonard Beisel, as well as John Stork, our landscaper. And I think we've come up with a landscape design that everybody can be proud of, in the essence that it's predominantly, if not all, native. And a lot of it is dryland forest plants, so very drought resistant, low water consuming plants. So it's just part of being a responsible developer. I think more people should really do it. Takes a little bit of effort, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, that's definitely music to our ears as conservation minded people, and I think it's part of a trend that I hope really takes off, especially in the driest places on our island. So thanks for being a part of that movement, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Thanks for all your help, Jen.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing it, come into its own and see some more greenery over in that area. So, yeah, we're happy to work with you as that progresses. And I just wanted to give you guys, the opportunity to share anything else you want to about how the project is going and tenants and what you guys are excited about.
Absolutely. So things are going well. We've started to get a bunch of permits, so things can really start to snowball right now. Mitch Roth has really helped us. Zendo Kern has really helped us turn this. I think they're going to really do well for our community in the aspect of construction. Um, and they really helped to start this up again because we got real stagnant with COVID. The county pretty much shut down. So we're back in force. You guys are gonna see a lot of buildings coming up in the next couple of months. We also broke ground on our newest mixed use component, which is the lofts at Waikoloa. And so that's 33 apartments. We've geared them towards workforce housing. Again, Gary's got a real knack for looking at what is needed in a community. And one thing that we've identified is the commuters. I mean, there's resort workers, construction workers, scientists, all traveling from all parts of the island. Due to lack of inventory of rentals, lack of inventory for sale, as well as just nothing that's affordable for them. So we've come up with some designs for these lofts at Waikoloa, which are economical. It's not low income. It's not federally subsidized. It's just an economic design which allows for good rent and a good product, nice 3-story views. And so we'll have our first 33 completed by July 4th. And so we actually got some girls outside of the lofts right now. If anybody's in the area, come on down. We got goodie bags for everybody. A little bit more flyers about who we are and what we do. And I think we got some hand sanitizers and maybe some masks and stuff in there as well for everybody. So if you're in the area by Waikoloa Post Office, come on by and talk story with us.
Oh, that's awesome. I think this whole thing advances a lot of what we talked about today, right? We talked about understanding place. We talked about really embracing your personal sense of malama, that you need to care for a place. And so for the people of Waikoloa Village to be able to, shop closer to home, that's fewer miles on the road, there's less traffic on the road. For the people who will choose to call the lofts home, they can walk and take care of a lot of the things they need to do, particularly today in this environment where a lot of us are on Zoom all day. To be that close to home and be able to get what you need, and then to be able to look out your window and see that beautiful Wiliwili tree, it's good stuff. So Colin, Samantha, mahalo to both of you for what you're doing. Really appreciate it. And
No, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, everybody's got their part. We need both Ilihia, we need Jen, we need all of you in order to make these wants a reality. It's like I said, it's not the easiest to fight the norm and really do the native and do something that's good for the community. It's so easy to just run everything over and do what we want. And so taking a step back and getting strategic partners like you guys to help along the process has made it that much easier, so thank you guys as well.
Awesome. Sam, you got anything you want to share?
I think Colin said everything.
All right.
Well, thank you guys so much, and hope to see you in the real world soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if anybody got any questions, please
Feel free to ask
come
me.
down or ask
come
now,
by.
or come by. We're right by the post office.
I think they're there till
right
about
on the north
4
side of the
o'clock.
post office. Okay.
And if anyone has any more, wants to find out more about the project, waikoloaplaza.com, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And then lofts@waikoloa.com for the apartments.
Awesome. Well, mahalo nui, gang. It's 2:13 and we are wrapping up our day here. Thanks to the support of folks like Colin and Sam over at Waikoloa Plaza, Hilton Waikoloa Village, Hawaii Water Company, Hawaii Forest and Trail, the Waikoloa Foundation, Hawaiian Ethos, NG Hawaii, Forest Solutions, First Hawaiian Bank, and certainly the staff, the team, the committed volunteers at Waikoloa Dry Forest Initiative. And it looks like we have Jackie and Rob in the preserve. How's it, guys?
It's going well. We definitely couldn't do this without all of your support, and it's been a wonderful day at the preserve, and just thank you everybody for everything that you did to make this happen.
It was a really, really great day. Thank you guys for being out there in the forest and hosting all of our guests today. I hope everyone had a good time and took the opportunity to see outside and learn from others if you weren't able to go to the preserve. Thank you, Ilihia. It's been a great first day, and I'm really looking forward to day 2 of the Wiliwili Festival.
I am also really excited.
All right.
So we will see everyone back here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. This isn't required, but if you would like to, you could make yourself a paper Wiliwili lei, wear it on camera. Up to you, no pressure. But in any case, we'll be happy to see everybody at 9 o'clock. We have some great stuff going on tomorrow. We have our dear friend, Auntie Hannah Kihalani Springer, who's going to take us on a journey through time in a way that only she can, as well as a bunch of other great speakers. And we're going to close it out with a cooking demo with a good friend of mine, Chef Kealoha Domingo. Some of his friends, we're going to learn how to cook some stuff with ulu. We're really looking forward to the second day of our Wiliwili Festival. We wouldn't be here without all of you who are joining us. So mahalo to you for joining us today, for your support of Waikoloa Dry Forest Initiative, as well as the other dry forest and other Malama Aina initiatives that we heard from today at Ka'upulehu, at Pu'uva'ava'a, at Kiholo, down in Ka'u, and in neighborhoods near you. So with that, Jen, you have anything you want to close out with?
That is it for me. Thank you all so much for all that you do, and looking forward to tomorrow.
Awesome.
Everybody.
Mahalo.
Hello.
We'll see everybody tomorrow. Go bid on that silent auction. Check out our exhibitors. We will see you back here at 9 o'clock.